Yes.
Peggy,
Yes.
this is Matt. Randy Haverfield from City Council was also trying to get in, but he had to leave to go to another meeting, so just so you know, he was trying to get in and he was here already.
Poor Randy. Okay. All right, so let's call the meeting to order. Announcements. Do we have any announcements?
No.
Rodney?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Approval of minutes. You guys got the minutes, right?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Well, second, this is Brett.
Okay, motion by Matt, second by Brett to approve the minutes. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle. Aye. Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved.
Oh my God.
No report on council actions because we missed Randy. So the first thing up is a business item. Christie.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
You tonight is a recommendation of approval or denial of the Franklin Village Number 8 final plat. This project is comprised of 12 acres proposed to be platted into 49 buildable lots, 3 shared driveways, and 2 open space lots located north of Birch Lane and east of North Franklin Boulevard. This property is located inside the city limits and is zoned RS6. It's completely surrounded by RS6 zoned properties with all phases of this subdivision to the north, south, west, and Sherwood Meadows and Sherwood Forest subs to the east. The annexation, zoning to RS6 with a development agreement was approved in December of 2003. The preliminary plat with the development agreement modification was approved in March of 2016. Since that time, phases 1 through 6 have recorded, and phase 7 is under construction. So findings in this case are that it is located within the city limits in an RS6 zone. It conforms to the approved preliminary plat layout, and it conforms to the applicable subdivision and zoning standards for Nampa. Staff feels it is appropriate for this commission to recommend approval of the final plat for Franklin Village Subdivision Number 8 to City Council with the conditions as listed in the staff report and any other conditions you see fit to impose. I will stand for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Christie? Anybody want to make a recommendation for?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we recommend approval of the subdivision plat final approval for Franklin Village Number 8 in an RS6 zoning district at 7790 Birch Lane for 49 single-family detached lots and 5 common lots on 10.35 acres for Franklin Village Development LLC, representing Don Brandt, Joan Brandt, and Marilyn Brandt, with all conditions of staff.
Second, this Steve.
Okay, motion by Matt, second by Steve to recommend approval. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay. Public hearings, we're running about 20 minutes behind, but public hearing number 1, Christie, looks like you're up again.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action required from you this evening is approval or denial of the preliminary plat for Black Butte Business Park Subdivision Number 3. This property is currently zoned IL and is surrounded by other IL and BC zoned properties with one Canyon County property to the north, all of which are designated as either commercial or industrial in the comprehensive plan. A portion of this property was annexed and zoned to IL in April of 2009, and in August of 2014, the southeast section was annexed to be combined with this property. That approval came with a development agreement and a CUP for an RV park. In
Mhm.
July of 2019, a second CUP for the RV park was issued. However, in January of 2020, the extension of that CUP was denied due to inactivity, therefore causing the development agreement to expire per item number 8. That states that the city has the ability to expire a development agreement due to inactivity and proper notification of the applicant with the second CUP process care of that notification. And I just realized we didn't let the applicant present this project.
Totally out of
Oh,
whack.
I will finish mine and then they can stand up and present.
That's all right, Christy, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're a little off tonight. Okay, so the preliminary plat for Black Butte Business Park number 3 comprises 21.32 acres proposed to be split into 34 lots. These lots include 31 buildable industrial lots and 3 common lots. So it's pretty simple. The findings in this case are that the project is not adjacent to any residentially zoned properties, so no extra landscaping or setback requirements were needed. The city has stated that preservation of industrial land is a high priority. The schedule of uses for the industrial properties was included in your staff report. I believe it was 4 pages long. There are no minimum lot size requirements, although the smallest proposed lot was 14,134 square feet. There are no lot width or frontage requirements in the IL zone, so they all meet code. And the landscaping will be reviewed and installed with each building permit as it is submitted. So again, the action requested from you tonight is approval or denial of the preliminary plat for Black Butte subdivision or Business Park subdivision number 3, located on 21.32 acres, located on North Black Butte Court, east of Middleton Road and south of I-84. Should the commission choose to approve this application, staff recommends approval with the conditions listed in the staff report and any others that you choose to add at this time. I will stand for any questions.
Christie, I have a kind of a silly question, if I may. On page 12, the boundary description shows that at the upper left-hand side of the page, there's this area that extends beyond the boundaries. But on the project location map on page 13, it doesn't show a corresponding area. Is it not supposed to be on one and on the other, or what?
Let me find that legal description in the staff report.
Look on page 12 and then on 13, and it'll be self-evident.
Okay, that looks like that is actually part of the roadway and the canal easement. Yeah, that's the right of way going into the subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Christy, I don't think we have any questions at this time since we're kind of out of order.
Okay, excellent.
So do we have the applicant,
He's
Mr.
here.
Smith there?
He's here.
Okay.
My name's Kurt Smith. I work at 2587 Southside Boulevard in Nova. I'm a licensed engineer and can practice engineering in the state of Idaho, and I'm the project engineer for this project. Christy did my job, and we're running late. So to make a long story short, we've reviewed the staff report, we've reviewed all the conditions that the city has for us. We have no objections to any of them. We feel that we have met the requirements of the IL zone with this development and would like to proceed. And with that, I'd like to stand for any questions.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant? No, I think that Christy did a really good job explaining, and I'm sorry we delayed you tonight.
No worries. I appreciate Christy.
All right, do we have anybody present that for public hearing? There's nobody on my sign-up sheet.
I
Well,
didn't receive any comments either.
None here.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved. This is Steve.
Second, Jeff.
Okay, motion to close public hearing moved by Steve, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle. Was that her?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. I like this way better than the RV park. I don't know about you guys. I think this is exciting. What do you want to do?
And Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the preliminary subdivision plat.
Okay.
Oh. For 31 industrial lots, 3 common lots. For Kurt Smith, who is representing Don Birch, with all conditions of staff.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion by Jeff, second by Brett. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, that is approved. On to public hearing number 2. Conditional use permit for a duplex. Do we have the applicant?
Doesn't look like it.
I don't think so. I tried to reach out to him, but I didn't hear anything back.
Okay,
That's
so I guess we get to hear from you, Parker.
Wait,
That's
call
right.
him.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action needed from you this evening is an approval or denial of the conditional use permit to build a new duplex on an RS6 zone lot located at 44 South Sugar Street for Tamarack Construction. The property located inside city limits and is zoned RS6. The comprehensive plan designates the property as medium density residential. It's bordered on the north and south and east sides by city zoned RS6 property consisting of the Sugar Manor subdivision, and to the west by city zoned RD property. Also to the south is IL zoned property. The site is 0.17 acres or about 7,405 square feet. All utilities are available to the site. The property will be accessed from South Sugar Street. These are the conditional use permit regulations found in 1025 Nampa City Code. They're applicable to the project. Which state that the development should be compatible with and not adversely affect the surrounding neighborhood. This is the correspondence that we received from various agencies. Engineering stated that the project will need to follow the building permit plan review process. Utilities have not yet been extended to the property, but they are available in the street. And that the property is within the floodplain and will need floodplain permit application for review. Building stated that construction would be compliant to Title IV. Code compliance had no violations. Nampa Highway District had no comment. This is a street view of the property. The lot has been buildable since it was recorded back in 1991, and it was replatted in 93. The zoning is consistent. There are townhomes and fourplexes currently that are across the street from the site. The draft layout, which the applicant provided, is not yet finalized. It was on the previous slide here. It's not yet finalized as they have to provide cover parking, which their draft layout provided it within the setback area. So they're still working on a different layout that would be compliant with those setbacks.
Okay.
These are the recommended findings. The project would be compatible with the abutting properties. Project will provide convenient, functional living environment. The project will provide an essential service to the community. These are the recommended conditions. Should the Planning and Zoning Commission vote to approve the conditional use permit, the suggested recommended conditions are those listed in your staff report, and any of those conditions that you wish to impose. And I will stand for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you. And Rodney, is there anybody there to talk on public hearing item number 2?
No, there is none signed up.
Okay,
I move we close public hearing.
Second.
okay, motion by Jeff to close public hearing, seconded by Brett. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam. It's Adam is frozen. Brett,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
I don't know what's going on with Adam, but he is not communicating now. All right, well, that carries it. So what do you guys want to do?
Adam's back.
I'm back. I don't know what happened there.
It's a conditional use permit, so it's our decision.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve the conditional use permit for duplex in an RS6 zoning district at 44 Sugar Street for Tamarack Construction with all conditions of staff.
I'll second. This is Jeff.
Okay, motion by Adam, second by Jeff to approve the CUP. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, that is approved. Public hearing number 3, a de-annexation. Don't think I've ever seen one of those. Do we have the applicant there?
Yes.
Okay.
He's here.
Hi there.
Name and address for the record.
Okay, name is Brian Niblett. Address 18040 Celestia, Nampa, 83687.
Tell us what you want to do.
Okay, so here's what I want to do. We sent this letter in. I want to just read a couple of paragraphs here. This is what we're talking about. Thank you for taking the time to review our request. The homeowners at the address says 18138 Celestia, 18090 Celestia, and 18040 Celestia Drive in Nampa. We respectfully request to be de-annexed from the city. We feel that this request is obtainable due to the reason it was annexed originally, as well as a lack of city services. The Birch Creek Estates is a small subdivision of 6 lots, 1 private street named Celestia. This subdivision was originally approved through the county. From my understanding, the 3 lots on the east side of Celestia were annexed into the city to provide access to upcoming subdivisions and Ridgeview High School. However, the annexation for the subdivision and high school were brought down Madison instead, not needing the property on Celestia. Since the remainder of the subdivision on the private street on 3 houses on the west side of Celestia are still in the county, and lack of city services to our properties on the east side of the street, we feel this request is justified. We ask that you approve this request as soon as possible, as it is in our best interest to move back to the Canyon County. Thank you. Thank you for taking our time for this.
It's all unclaimed.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant right now?
I have a question. It's kind of an odd one.
Go ahead.
They usually come from me. Does the county have to give permission to get de-annexed from the city and back into the county? I mean, do they have a say in whether or not? Okay.
It was up to you guys. That's what. Okay, it's up to you guys.
Okay. So it's a one-sided thing
Yeah.
then. All right. Always wondered about that. Okay. Oh, I see.
So we have a private street, and half of our street is the city and half is the county. And it originally was supposed to be all the county. And so, I look at my neighbors right across my private street, and all there's 3 of them there. These guys are in the county, and then us on the other side, we're all in the city. I don't understand exactly why we would need to be in the city on this. And if there's a reason, I would love to hear what the reason would be for that.
So you're not hooked up to any city services right
Nothing,
now?
Nothing.
No.
We have septic, we have, well,
When the snow falls, half of the street is plowed and the other half isn't?
no, because they don't plow our street, so we
Okay.
need to take care of ourselves, private.
So is it just the taxes? Is it just a fiscal thing is why you want to
That
get?
would be a big part of it.
Okay,
So the taxes are definitely higher there, and we receive nothing in return for those taxes.
I see.
Yeah, and we're definitely not unified because one half is one and one half's the other on a 6-lot subdivision.
Okay.
Okay, let's hear from staff and see what staff says.
Hey, good evening, Madam Chair
You can have
and
a seat.
Commissioners.
Have a seat.
Doug Critchfield, planner with the City of Nampa. Some general information about the site. So the location is west of Franklin Boulevard and north of Ustick Road on the corner. You can see from the graphic there that the 3 lots that are in Hatch, they comprise about 5.66 acres.
I don't see a graphic. I'm looking at people.
I have to share my screen. I apologize. Let's try this again. Screen 1. Okay.
There we go.
Is that it? Okay.
Thank you.
Apologize about that. So the 3 lots are located there on Ustick and North Franklin Road. North of this subdivision, the Birch Creek subdivision, it's RS7 zoning. That's the Rock Springs subdivision. And the Astoria Park subdivision, RS6, is to the south. East is Canyon County, and to the west is enclaved Canyon County property. In the comprehensive plan, these 3 lots, there are actually 2 land use settings. The majority is community mixed use, and then the upper northern part is medium density residential. They are surrounded largely by community mixed use, except to the north, which is the medium density residential. The darker purple there is residential mixed use designation, and that's on the northeast side. There are utilities, a 12-inch water main in Ustick Road, a 12-inch pressure irrigation main in Ustick Road. The Purdom sewer trunk line is planned to be developed down Ustick Road in fiscal year 2021 with an 8-inch stub to service Celestial Drive properties. The access to the site is from Celestial Drive to Ustick Road. Here's a close-up of the parcels, the 3 parcels to the east that are requesting the annexation. This is a view of the property looking from Franklin Boulevard, looking to the west, a little bit to the northwest. In this case, we don't do these very often, so I will read through quickly for you the code that applies, the regulatory code that applies to this. This is in Title 10, Chapter 2, Section 4.4.g. It says that applications to exclude or de-annex or disannex land from within the incorporated limits of the city shall be processed in the same manner as applications to annex. The council may choose to grant or deny such applications to de-annex in its sole discretion as provided in Idaho Code Section 50.225. Decisions to grant or deny any application for exclusion, de-annexation, or disannexation do not require that the council articulate or provide findings justifying its decision.
Can I
Yes, go ahead.
interrupt and ask a quick question on that? Because I read a little bit further down in the code, and I think it's in 10-2-9, where it does state in there that any application of this sort has to be responded to with reason from the planning director. Now, is that the difference between this section of the ordinance of the code and that section of the code? Is that the planning director versus the council?
So the decision to de-annex is a council decision.
Right, but they don't have to justify what their decision is. They don't have to provide any reason or what. So if it was a planning director's decision, the planning director would have to put in reasons why that was denied.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to make sure we got that clear because it was a little confusing.
Yeah, no, thank you. We do have some findings from the staff's perspective on this. If the commission recommends the requested de-annexation from RA to county zoning, then the findings are that the de-annexation would be for 3 parcels totaling 5.66 acres, that the original annexation occurred in anticipation of city services being available as a result of the construction of Bridgeview High School, but that the city services were rerouted, and that the applicant stated that city services are lacking, and the engineering division stated that an 8-inch sewer from the Purdom, I can't read this, but the Purdom sewer trunk line in Ustick Road will be stubbed at Celestial Drive in fiscal year 2021, and that water and pressurized irrigation currently available at Ustick Road, and that de-annexation will result in the city having no jurisdiction over the properties.
So Doug, I'm
Yes.
sorry, another question
Yes,
for clarification. So the 3 properties that are in question with this applicant are are city. The 3 properties on the other side of the street, are they still in county? Is it a county
They're in the county.
enclave?
that's correct.
So with the city services that are being stubbed into in fiscal year 2021, is that to service potentially all, I mean, the idea would be that it's going to service all 6 properties there, right? But only 3 of them are in the city. So the other 3 would have to be annexed at some point to, I see you creeping up here.
About those utilities. So the utilities that on the sewer side of
People out
things,
here probably don't know who you are.
oh, Danny Badger, I'm the city engineer, sorry. The utilities for the sewer that we are extending in this fiscal year, the current fiscal year, will be the Purdom trunk line. It's a 24-inch sewer line in Ustick, and we will stub an 8-inch stub to Celestia Drive for future extension. That 8-inch stub will handle all homes on Celestia Drive without any issue.
Okay. But right now, though, it's not doing anything. You can just stub it and leave it there until at some point, if these properties de-annex, it's still going to sit there as a stub line, correct?
It will. I will give a little bit of context. We've had, and historically, we have had one other request for de-annexation in this area, probably back in 2014 or something, I believe. That was denied. It was for the Seven Neighbors subdivision that is just north of here on Franklin Road. It's in a similar situation where there were no city utilities available.
And they were requesting to de-annex based on the fact that they did not feel they received any benefit from being within the city limits. That annexation was denied. I don't remember the Planning and Zoning Commission determination, but I do recall that City Council denied that request because of the difficulty that there is in getting those properties back into the city as the city grows around them. They did not want to create additional enclaved areas in those areas in the future.
Ma'am, we'll get back to you, okay?
But in this, and I understand that, but in this situation, there's already an enclaved area there. And I
There
mean,
is-
yeah, I know you get where I'm going and why I'm asking the questions, but.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I've got a question real quick too. So I live in the city, and I live in a similar subdivision to this. Lots aren't quite as big, but I live in a subdivision that's about 30 homes. We have no city services. We're all on septic. We have a community well. We have no sidewalks. We have basically no, I don't know, public services, I guess. I have a library card. Other than that, there isn't really anything. So at what point do we have to just say, is this going to open a can of worms? I don't know.
Well, we're not in
We have
the,
to be in order. But we'll get you, ma'am, I promise.
okay, well, that makes sense. I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Sorry, Doug.
No,
That
that's
was
okay.
my fault. I completely take the
Just
blame.
hijacked it.
That's all right. Madam Chair, I'll proceed then.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, if I can, okay, here we go. So we did have some correspondence from engineering reiterating what we had discussed about the utilities. We did receive some correspondence from the general public, and the correspondence that we received all were in favor of the de-annexation. We have one of those correspondence letters in your packet. We also did receive, we also did receive some email correspondence after the packets were issued. Again, all of those were in favor. One particular from Patricia Webster, she said, I want it known that I'm completely in favor of the 3 lots listed in your public notice of October 15, 2020 being granted their request for de-annexation from the city of Nampa. I see no reason why they should not be allowed this change. I live slightly west at 8034 Ustick Road in Nampa. We also received a comment from Kent and Jennifer Whitting. We are currently on the county side, and I think it would make our subdivision complete to have the other homes in the neighborhood county as well. And then we received comments from several other property owners just stating that they support the application.
Thank you.
You bet. So the requested action this evening, recommend approval or denial of the de-annexation from RA suburban residential to county zoning to be determined by Canyon County for 18040, 18090, and 18138 Celestial Drive. We're a total of 5.66 acres, portion of lots 1, 2, and 3 of Block 1 Birch Creek Estates subdivision. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Doug, if I may, this
Yes.
is Steve, for everybody else. When the trunk line goes in, as it stands right now, we have 3 parcels in the city and 3 parcels that are not in the city, plus the rest of the road is not in the city. Is that correct? Along
Yeah,
Ustick.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the private and
So
Councilmember-
are we
yeah.
proposing at that time in the future, when the trunk line goes in, that all these will be annexed into the city? No. Or yes? No.
No, I
Engineering is
believe,
saying no,
and-
so.
and I'll have to make sure I clarify with Daniel.
So
but I-
how are we going to justify that 3 people pay city taxes for the same thing everybody else is going to get for nothing?
Daniel, I believe.
Well, they won't get
that
it
have
for
to be
nothing
annexed
until they're
before
hooked
they
in.
can connect. Is
They
that-
must start paying. So it's just sit there. The stub will just sit there.
So, Madam Chair, Commissioner Kehoe, the stub being put in does not, it provides us the ability to provide service to them. The way that the city has handled extension of existing utilities into existing developments that do not have them would be by a request of the property owners. Typically, we would create a local improvement district to fund the installation of that, and then each of the property owners would connect. The very nature of just having the stub there does not require their annexation. They would only need to annex once that sewer line is in place, and if their septic were to fail at that point, they would be required to. So the property owners directly adjacent to Ustick, once that sewer line is there, they're close enough that by Idaho Plumbing Code, if their septics are to fail, they would be required to connect to that sewer, and therefore they would be required to annex into the city. Does that answer your
Yes,
question?
it does.
And they would have to pay to,
They would have to pay
Yeah.
the appropriate connection fees and associated construction costs with that.
and,
But that could potentially be 30, 40 years down the road. I mean,
Yeah.
reasonably speaking.
yeah, depending on how long their private septic system lasts. But were they made aware of that cost that would have to be incurred if that situation were to happen down the road? I mean,
I will say I've not had any utility discussions with any of the property
Okay.
owners there. The property owners, I believe all three of the property owners that are currently in the city purchased the property after it had already been annexed into the city. I'm not 100% positive on that, but that's my recollection from when it was annexed. The history on that is the John Brandt, Brandt Agency, he had all the ground up there where Ridgeview High School is and the properties up there. He had no annexation path. I'm not aware whether he purchased these properties and resold them to get his annexation path or paid the property owners at the time to allow him to annex
I
them
see.
into the city. But it was a request. It was a request to be annexed by the property owner or a authorized person at the time
at
it
the
was
time.
annexed.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. That makes sense.
Thank you. All right, so we have, there's quite a few people on the sign up sheet to speak. You guys will have to tell me who is there in person. We have the applicant, there's 3 applicants, and then 3 different residents.
Might as well,
Thank
yeah. We have one that just stepped up.
Okay, to answer some of your questions, I'm Christy
Yeah.
Niblett, 18040 Celestia Drive. And to answer a couple of those questions, I appreciate the gentleman that said opening a can of worms. The way that you can justify this is we came in as the county and we were annexed into the city. I spoke with Don Brandt today actually and asked him exactly what happened with that. It was his property originally. He purchased it from the original developer. He annexed it in to get in Ridgeview High School. Then we're told that it came up Madison instead. That being said, the other difference between us and any of those other properties is that we are on a private street. We do not have any kind of city services on our streets at all. That one that I think, what's your name again? Daniel, the one that Daniel was talking about, they came in city, they're more homes and they are on a city street and they have city lights. We do not have any of those things. And then Brian wanted me to ask this here, why would we want to hook up to the city if we have our wells? They're brand new within the last 3 years. What would our benefit be? Let's say we have 30 years out of it. Why would we want to pay the city taxes this whole time and ununify our neighborhood? Let's see, what other questions? Or if it broke next year, we understand that if our septic fails, we understand if our well fails, that we would need to hook up to the city. That is something we completely understand and we agree
Okay.
with. But in the meantime, we have no reason to have the city. So that's kind of our case. Do you have anything to add? Okay.
But do you have a library card?
I do not.
Just wanna make sure.
Ma'am, the street sign on Ustick is it Celestial Drive?
Celestia, yeah.
What color is it?
Blue.
Blue?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, can she see us? I don't know if she can see what's going on here.
I can see the dais, but that's it.
Oh,
I'm David Snow. I live in the center property, 18090 Celestia Drive, which is currently part of the city. And Christy said a lot of the stuff that I wanted to say, but the other thing I wanted to add is with the street being a private drive in the county and private meaning where the 6 lots that are there maintain it. If my well were to fail or my septic were to fail, I would have to tear up the asphalt drive that's still in the county to get the city service up to my house. So it really seems infeasible and cost prohibitive to be able to do that. And also the irrigation where it currently sits is at Ustick Road. It's, several hundred feet from where my property is. So I think it would be cost prohibitive for me to hook it up to my property. So.
Okay, thank you. Do we have someone else to speak?
Yep.
Okay.
My name is Justin Koff. I live at 18138 Celestia Drive, the far north property. Myself and 2 other lots both have small pastures. We have animals. I think trying to keep a rural section in Nampa is important. And part of that being in county and the freedoms that come with being in county. Another quick point would be some of the money that we'd be saving on taxes. That road obviously is going to need improvements down the road as well, which obviously all of us have to pay for. The city's not going to obviously chip seal it for us or whatnot, which is quite a bit of money for us to maintain that road. So I would appreciate if maybe that could be considered as well. Thank you.
I'm sorry. So are you in favor of this or?
No, I'm
Opposed?
definitely in favor.
Okay. Just want to make that.
Favor of de-annexation.
De-annexation.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
And do we have another person?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, so the applicants are who we heard from. Okay. All right.
Can I speak? This is Kent Wittig. I live on the county side of this subdivision, and so I'm 18141 Celestia Drive, and just wanted to again reiterate my support for the neighborhood being annexed back into county for a lot of the same reasons that were already discussed. And it's just I can tell you it's always kind of a topic of funny discussion when I point that out to friends or family that come over, and I say, oh, those 3 houses are city, we're county, and it gets a lot of head scratching, and it doesn't really make sense. We know the history about why it happened, and it just seems like it's really the best thing for our neighborhood, especially where it's semi-rural. We have small acreage, and there's a lot of interest in keeping it more of a country feel. And I think with the city being zoned in city limits, it just changes a little bit of the dynamics of the neighborhood there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else there to testify?
He was on the phone.
Oh, he was on the phone. Okay. I can't see, so I don't know what is going on there in person.
No, there doesn't look like there's anyone else here, Madam Chair.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved. This is Brett.
Second, this is Adam.
Okay, motion by Brett, second by Adam to close public hearing. All those in favor, Steve?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. It's a
have a question.
recommendation.
I have a question for probably, I don't know, Rodney or
Somebody.
somebody.
Okay.
So if this was de-annexed, and let's say the furthest north lot their septic or well failed, would just they have to ask for annexation, or would the entire subdivision have to ask for annexation? Because we'd be basically, the city'd be running that, say their septic system failed, they would have to connect. Then they'd run the sewer, I'm guessing, right down Celestia Drive to the front of their property. So, but the other neighbors wouldn't have to connect or wouldn't have to annex unless they had similar situations. So it'd just be one lot at a time. Is that right?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Miller, the way that the plumbing code reads is that if a property is within, I believe it's 250 feet of a municipal sewer system, they are required to connect and would not be issued a new septic permit. So if the northmost property's septic were to fail, that would be far enough away that that provision of the Idaho Plumbing Code would not trigger, and they would be able to redo their septic system.
Thanks.
But if it's the first lot, then
If they're the first lot, they would be within the proximity, and that code provision would trigger.
So then by that logic though, then if the first one had to annex and then the second one had to annex, then the third one would, but not until the first two did.
Most likely based on, depending on what construction of the sewer was done at the point their septics failed.
Any other questions for staff?
I don't have a question, but there's just one thing that keeps nagging at me, and that is this, the city council doesn't have a requirement to explain to the applicant why their request was denied. And that just, I don't know, that just kind of bothers me. I know the planning director does have to explain why if the decision was rendered in the negative for the applicant, but the city council can just say no, and that's it. You don't get a reason why. And that just kind of bothers me. There's no transparency there, I guess. And that's probably another issue, another topic. But I really don't see a reason why these lots should stay in the city and not be provided any city services. I mean, what are they paying for? I get it. I get that it might be a little bit harder to bring them back into the city if they de-annex. But if this was 3 lots out of 50 lots that wanted to de-annex, I could understand that. But this is 3 lots and all the other lots are still in the county. So it doesn't make any sense to me why. I mean, we're going to stub there anyways. And at some point, they may be required to patch into the system. It's going to be on their dime. They understand that. And they get that expense might be incurred down the road. But I, for one, I mean, my brother lives in an enclave, and I keep poking him a little bit, saying, "Hey, it's only a matter of time. You're going to be annexed into the city." And then
Yeah, but that's not really easy for the city to do, though. That's part of the problem, I think, is look around the city and how many enclaved areas are there within the city. And like I said earlier, I live in one of those areas where I am city and I don't get any city services. I mean, I guess when we had Snowmageddon, I had a truck come down my road one time, and I wish they wouldn't have, because I'd already cleared it with the backhoe. So, which I did illegally, I guess. But it just makes it hard for them, the city, to go back and you know what I mean, annex those, because what's the reason then?
But I
If
guess
there
it might.
isn't a reason, then
Commissioner Miller, my question would be, why down the road would we want to go back and, yeah, we're not going to force annex anybody into the city, but these are 3 lots, and at what point would the city need to go back and get them into the city? These are 3 lots. This is not a neighborhood. This is not, acreages and acreages of land that would be significant enough as a revenue to the city where I think we would be interested in going there and wanting them to annex, but this is 3 lots with no services.
I agree. And even if they stay in the city and as the sewer sub gets put there, they're still not forced to connect to it. So
right.
It doesn't make, I'm with you, it doesn't make any sense. We're holding half of the property owners hostage for no reason, and I'm all in favor of letting them be annexed.
And I'm not saying I'm not, for what they want to do, because I completely understand and agree with their logic. It makes total sense for them to go back to the county. I just think that as a city, I don't like looking at a city map and seeing all the enclaved areas through the city. I just don't like to see that. I think if you live within the city limits, you need to be part of the city. And then the city maybe needs to do a better job of going into those areas and providing services. I don't know how that's answered, especially for, older subdivisions like mine. I don't need or want city services, but I'm in the city and there's not really anything I can do about it. So
Everything on the east side of Franklin and the gray here is county.
That's correct.
how long is that going to be county though, honestly?
But that's what I'm saying. If this was a place like in downtown Nampa or it's not an established area, but there's still a lot of county land out here. And these guys are adjacent to the county land. I'm with you though, Brad. I hate to see those enclaved things all over the city, but this is not really there's a lot of land out there that's still county.
Hey, Doug. Doug Critchfield, did you presented, right?
Yes, I did.
Do you know the specifics of how this thing got? Because one of the applicants talked about Don Brandt making a deal to get this annexed to get Ridgeview High School. Could you have the background for that?
Yes, Daniel Badger's going to come up and he can explain that to you.
Thank you.
Chairwoman and Commissioner Garner. So these properties were annexed in order to get the land between Madison and Franklin up to Linden into the city limits. The subsequent to that happening, there have been additional annexations since that time that provide a different annexation path. But at the time that property was annexed, these 3 lots were the only annexation path used for that property north of the canal there, all the way up to Linden between Madison and Franklin.
I think that I get what everybody's saying about these parcels and these people not being serviced at all, but having to pay the taxes. But I think that what I'm seeing is that the city made a deal to get these annexed in, and now if we go back and reverse that, what are the ramifications for the city? I mean, we're not getting the benefit of the deal anymore. Is that what I'm seeing?
So, Commissioners, Madam Chair, we've focused a lot on what utilities are provided to these lots and what the lack of utilities provided to these lots. Those are not the only services the city provides. We provide police, fire. The property owners here drive on City of Nampa roads throughout the city as they go to various locations within the city that have impact to our infrastructure, whether we see them directly like we do with the utilities or not. There are city services used within the roadway networks, regardless of whether their residential road there is public or private.
So were these lots already annexed into the city when these homeowners, these applicants purchased these homes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's not a nice thing to say. I mean, it does seem kind of insensitive, but the fact remains that they bought these lots, these houses, knowing that it was annexed into the city. And then to now come back and say, well, you know what, we don't feel like we're being serviced, so we want out. That just, it doesn't seem like a fair deal.
A fair deal to who, Commissioner? To the city?
Yeah. But, saying that, I mean, I still can see totally what they're saying. I get that for sure. But the fact is that they were annexed into the city, and now after the fact, we're saying, no, we want to get out. And what does that open us up to if other people feel the same way?
Anyone else?
I just think that, these folks that are in this small neighborhood, 6 lots in this neighborhood, it would be a completely different situation if, for in fact, like in my neighborhood where there's 200 lots, if I went to the city and said, I don't feel like I'm getting my services, so I want to de-annex. I almost said de-escalate, de-annex. I want to de-annex from the city. You can't, that's a wholly different situation. And so I don't know that it's going to open up a can of worms, because we do look at these on a case-by-case basis. And in this case, I'm seeing 3 people, part of a 3 lots, part of a 6-lot neighborhood that have, when they were first annexed in, this was the plan. If anyone seems to have reneged on a deal, it seems to be the city, because the plan was that we were going to run services in a particular area, and it didn't. It went a different direction. At least that's the way I understand it. So, and it's neither here nor there. Plans change. Hold on just a second. Plans change and all that other kind of stuff. So I can see both sides, but this particular situation, I think, is a little different than maybe someone in a bigger development or with more lots that are part of the city that might want to de-annex.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
back in your ballpark.
You guys got to make a motion.
I'll make a motion. I will move that we approve or recommend to City Council approval of the de-annexation from RA to county zoning to be determined by Canyon County for a total of 5.66 acres, portions of Lot 1, 2, and 3 of Block 1, Birch Creek Estates subdivision, for Justin Koff, David Snow, Brian Niblett, and Christy Niblett, with, well, there are no conditions because it's a recommended denial.
Right.
This time I'll second it.
So you're recommending we approve, not denial, correct?
Well, I'm recommending that we approve the de-annexation.
Okay. And then Tom, you seconded.
Correct.
Okay, so motion by Jeff, second by Tom to recommend approval of de-annexation. All those in favor, Steve,
Hey,
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Sympathetically, nay.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Nay.
Tom.
Aye.
1, 2, 3. So the ayes have it. So it passes.
No, that's
the closest vote we've had. So we're recommending to City Council that they de-annex. Okay. All right, on to public hearing item number 4.
you guys leave if you want.
Yes? Oh.
Do we want to put number 5 in front of that, since this is city's comprehensive plan amendments to the, and go on to number 5 so that the applicant doesn't have to sit there and wait?
Yeah.
He's saying yes.
Yeah, that only makes sense.
Yeah, okay, let's have Mr. Smith come up and tell us what he wants to do.
Thank you. Andrew Smith, 647 Teton Drive, Nampa 83686. Seeking a conditional use permit for a home business, specifically machine work on gunsmithing, specifically precision rifles, bench rest rifles.
That's it, huh?
Short and sweet, huh? I have a question. I asked the staff about this earlier and they didn't know the answer, and maybe there is no answer. But I've been on this commission for a while, and I've been on other commissions and other jurisdictions for a long time. I never heard of these things until this last year, or this first 6 months of this year. What's with gunsmithing all of a sudden? Is it lucrative and you all just trying to make money, or is it something that?
No. Chairman Kehoe, did I say that correctly?
No, I'm not chairman. I'm co-chair, but that's okay.
Apologize.
That's all right.
So I wanted to build precision rifles about 10 years ago and compete in it. I apprenticed under a gunsmith, purchased his lathe, and started working for myself. Just building my own equipment. I'm a Precision Rifle Series competitor in the National Rifle League and the Precision Rifle Series. When people ask, who built your rifle? And you say, I did. Can you build mine? There's no money in it. The legalities around it is, in order for someone to bring me a receiver, an action, for me to be able to take possession of that action, it has to be transferred to me under a federal firearms license. It needs to go into my book that I have taken possession of that.
I get the idea.
Setup, and then I got to check it back out to them after I do that work.
That's close enough.
Yeah. I'm just turning away friends' work constantly. And I've had another business come to me and ask me if I would do the threading on some of their work also for them, a local business named Shooter's Bench in Boise. So I have a full-time career. I teach high school engineering.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And staff report.
Madam Chair and Commission, this is Rodney Ashby, Director of Planning and Zoning. The action before you is on the screen. So the request is for a CUP for a home occupation for gunsmithing business in an RS6 zone at 647 Teton Drive. The comprehensive plan is for medium density. You can see it here. It's just completely surrounded by medium density residential, and then also surrounded by the RS6 zoning. And then the surrounding land uses, again, it's in a subdivision, so not much to talk about here except that it's residential. Parcel size is 0.20 acres. There's sewer and water and pressurized irrigation in the area and servicing the property. All services are available currently to the property. So the owner has stated, as he just mentioned, that he has operated this function, at least in his home, for himself, and just has had people request the service of him. He stated that there's been no complaints over the last 10 years. There's really no concerns about noise because the equipment he uses is not even as loud as a vacuum cleaner. He claims that it's about half as loud as the vacuum cleaner. The parking, because it's a home occupation, you wouldn't need additional parking because we would not have employees working besides the property owner himself. And the applicant has stated that no customers will come to this location, so therefore no additional parking is required. The property has frontage on Teton Drive. This is something Doug Critchfield has done on his previous staff reports for gunsmithing CUPs, and I thought this was a really good idea. In the past, there was a condition that we identify schools within 2,500 square or linear feet of this property, and so in this situation, it is within 2,500 feet. It's actually 1,300 feet to Iowa Elementary School, but again, the state law does not require, or federal law require that it has to be more than 2,500 feet. It's just for your information. So this is the front of the property. To the left over here there's actually a pretty good sized yard over here. And it's on basically a corner that goes around. Here are the applicable codes for establishing a CUP. You've heard these before. It has to meet the livability of the neighborhood and not adversely impact it. And we can go back to these if you desire. Title 10, Chapter 1, Section 10 also outlines the home occupations and what is required to get a conditional use permit. And then I highlighted this in your staff report, but I also put it up on the screen here. Just wanted to show you just quickly the conditions of a home occupation. These are intended to mitigate any concerns about a full-on business going into a residential setting. There's pretty stringent conditions, including how many vehicles can be there, the lighting, the noise, vibration, and anything can, if there's a complaint, if there's 2 complaints, it'll come to you automatically for your consideration, and you can withdraw the conditional use permit. So we did receive a little bit of correspondence from the Nampa Building Department. They just requested Title IV be followed. Nampa Code Enforcement, there were no code violations. The school district did reply and just said that the elementary school is close to this property, and they would encourage that the applicant keep the firearms and ammunitions in a secure place. Nampa Meridian Irrigation District also responded and said no impact. So staff analysis. The claims by the applicant suggest that this is a pretty minimal impact to the neighborhood, including that he's going to be the owner and operator of the home occupation. There are no changes to the property or the buildings necessary. The equipment for the business has been used for past 10 years for personal purposes and with no noise complaints. The work performed will be delivered to customers, causing no increase in vehicle traffic. And I put in the staff report, we may want a little bit of clarification there just about how that's delivered. So that might be something to consider, or how does he get the equipment in the first place? If they aren't coming to the home, how is that being passed to him? The noise levels he claims the noise levels are half the volume of a vacuum cleaner. So again, the staff suggests the commission question the applicant about the process for advertising, marketing, and services. There are pretty strict conditions in our code. It does sound like it's just to friends, so maybe that is the way that it's being done. It's not necessarily a business to make money, and so he's not necessarily marketing. But the signage on the property is very limited for in-home occupations. And just the condition about how are the customers bringing their equipment to be worked on.
Okay.
There are the suggested conditions of approval that are in your staff report. And here's a potential motion. I would stand for questions.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Rodney, under staff findings and discussions, it says that occupation firearm sales to family and friends is eligible conditional use in the residential zone. What makes someone a friend? If I went to him and said, hey, would you do this for me? Oh, yeah, Steve, you're my friend now.
The discount does.
You know, what makes somebody a friend to this guy?
That's a great question. There are all kinds of little statements like that in our code that I am still trying to figure out. So I would just argue that if there's frequent use of the property, if you're advertising it, that becomes different than just word of mouth.
If it like flies under the radar, then that would be a friend that maybe he met at Walmart or something.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's not actively advertising it on his property.
If I find him in the yellow pages, he's in trouble.
There you go.
If they come back, if there's 2 complaints and it comes back to us, is that through the public hearing process?
It is. Yep.
And vehicles, commercial vehicles is limited to 1. Does that include a trailer that might be hooked to that commercial vehicle that could be unhooked from that commercial vehicle and parked, thus creating 2?
Good question. I think you just want to put that in your conditions if there's any concerns about that.
Okay.
Any more questions for staff? Is there anybody there for public testimony? There's nobody on my sign-up sheet.
No one's here to testify.
But I think we ought to ask Mr. Smith about the,
Right.
yeah, how they're getting there.
How they getting out of there too?
Yeah, the coming and goings.
Could Mr. Smith come back up, please?
He's on his way.
2 methods. One would be a customer would drop off their parts or their firearm at shooter's bench, and I would pick it up there, take it home, perform the work, return it to shooter's bench, and then it would return to that customer that direction.
All right, what's Shooter's Bench?
Shooter's Bench is a company it would be like I'm subcontracting for them. They're a firearm store in Boise.
Oh, I see.
The other way would be if you contacted me through word of mouth. I have no intentions of hanging a shingle, advertising, creating a commercial vehicle. I would pick up and deliver for you. Part of the requirements for the federal firearms license, because of the proximity to the school, is that everything must be transported in a locked case. Other stipulations for Nampa School District, I'm applying for an 01 FFL, which is only manufacturing and machining. I will not be doing any manufacturing of ammunition. I'm not interested in the liability, and I'm not interested in the workload. And so there's no ammunition being manufactured, sold, received, distributed from the home.
Don't bring any with you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion by Matt, second by Brett to close public hearing. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed.
Madam Chair, I'll just go ahead and make the motion that we grant the conditional use permit for home occupation gunsmithing business at 647 Teton Drive for Andrew Smith with all conditions of staff.
Second.
Okay, motion by Brett, second by Matt.
Matt.
Approve the CUP, please. Let me know if you approve. Steve, my
Aye.
brain's going, guys, sorry. Okay, Steve's aye. Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle, Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay. And then number 6, is the applicant there for that as well?
Yes.
Yes, the applicant's here.
So we'll just go on to public hearing 6 and we'll go back to 4 as soon as we
Oh, I did
take
not.
care of the public.
Already crossed it off.
He's coming up.
Okay, thank you.
My name's James Hagan. I currently reside at 916 7th Avenue North. I am looking to rezone the property adjacent to me. The plan is to buy this property and also purchase the vacant land that's adjacent to the piece of property I'm buying. From what I understand, American Tire bought this property 10, 15 years ago, and they bought the whole piece. And so this property was included when they went to change the zoning to community business. And once the piece got divided from American Tire, that this piece remained business, although it is currently being used as residential. So what I'm recommending is just move this piece from the, and also modify the development agreement that's tied to the, with American Tire.
Okay. All right, we'll hear from staff, and if we have any questions, we'll call you back up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Chair and Commission, Rodney Ashby, Director of Planning and Zoning. Yeah, action before you is twofold: the rezone from BC to RS6, and then also the modification of a development agreement, ordinance number 3561, to rescind the conditions for a commercial building to match nearby architectural facades, building orientation, limiting impact of commercial lighting and fencing to the neighborhood, specifying the commercial signage, landscaping, and other conditions for the commercial building, a commercial building at 904 7th Avenue North. The applicant has stated his intent is to return the address and parcel listed on application to pre-existing zoning, which was single-family residential. In addition, rescind the portion of the development agreement that applies to the residential use of the property. And what this essentially means is that the commercial, when the property was rezoned to BC from RA, or suburban residential, the commission and the council were concerned about a commercial building going in that area that was primarily a rural residential area. And so they put conditions on it that would cause the commercial building to look more residential in nature and reduce the impacts such as lighting or noise. So I'll get into a little more specifics in a little bit, but that is essentially what's being requested. Okay. The development agreement is also for both properties, 896 and 904. So essentially, we're just saying remove those conditions for 904 in that development agreement. And first of all, the applicable regulations are that for the zoning change, it just has to be reasonably necessary and in the interest of the public to change that zoning, and in accordance with our comprehensive plan. For the development agreement, that's the second one here. There's really nothing in our state code or our local zoning code about whether or conditions for approving or denying or rescinding a development agreement. It's essentially a contract between two parties that they agree upon. So it's up to, it will be up to city council to make their determination based on whatever criteria they use. So the total property size is just over a half acre. It's in the medium density residential zone or designation on our comprehensive plan. You can see that here, just on the edge, right next to the commercial. But it is zoned BC. So you can see that on the screen now. I'll zoom in a little closer. It used to be the ag, or the RA zone, I should say, suburban residential, but it was rezoned to BC. So the surrounding land use is the, to the north is the Mad Hatter Motors used car sales. To the east is the American Tire and Auto Repair Service. It's a BC zone. To the south is the Phyllis Canal, and then across the canal is the public storage, BC and IL light industrial zoning. And to the west is rural single family residential, or RA suburban residential zoning.
bit closer view of that. Utilities in the staff report, I believe I said that they were available to the site. They're actually, that is incorrect. They are, the water is available, but the sewer and irrigation are not in the immediate area, although they are available in Franklin. So they need to be brought down 7th Avenue to that property. And then access is off of 7th Avenue. So a little bit of history, 1971, the annexation into the city. 2006, April of 2006, City Council approved a rezone from RA to BC and the development agreement that I spoke of. April 2020, the owner desired a Quonset hut on the property to the south. So let me go back as a visual for you. This property here, 896, the owner of the property just talked with staff and indicated his desire to put a Quonset hut as a accessory structure to the main single family home here. So staff indicated that because there was no single family structure on there, we'd have to look into it, and there was some discussion back and forth. But then in September, we received an application for the rezone, and I believe in your staff report there was a little bit of confusion about it because staff was working with the owner at the same time as the applicant, who is not the owner, submitted their application for a rezone. So staff called both the applicant and the owner of the property and just clarified that there's no desire for this Quonset hut anymore, and that the applicant is only applying for the 904, not the 896 property, and that is only for the rezone and the development agreement modification. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. The owner has expressed some interest and is exploring some options for that other property and even potentially combining the two for some kind of development. But the action before you today is the rezone back to RS6 from BC and the development agreement for that single property 904. So here are the recommended findings. Those are in your staff report. This is correspondence we've received. Code enforcement just indicated that there is a 6-foot fence that extends around the entire property. They were concerned about that and asked if there was a fence permit. Staff looked into that, and I found that there was a commercial fence permit because it was zoned BC. So that allows for that 6-foot fence around it because it was a commercial designation. If it was a commercial building being constructed, we wouldn't even allow the 6-foot fence to go around it. But because it was zoned commercial, the building department processes a commercial fence permit, and they accepted that 6-foot fence all the way around the property. So again, if it's an RS6 zone, we would only allow a 6-foot fence up to the front edge of a single family home. Anything in front of that would be either a 3-foot opaque, 3-foot solid fence or a 4-foot chain link fence you can see through. That's typically what we get. Engineering commented, just said they do not oppose. The building department requested compliance with Title IV. Nampa School District had no concerns. Nampa Highway District had no comment. And then after my conversation with the property owner, Chris Dutton submitted this comment. And this is something I sent to you today. He says, I am the owner of the property at the proposed 896 7th Avenue North, and I fully endorse the zoning change from 904 to residential. This has been a farmhouse for years and never should have been changed to BC. This BC was set up to have the tire store go in on Franklin, but the rest of the farm property should have stayed residential. Please approve this change. That's Chris Dutton.
So Rodney, they're gonna have to take the fence down around the front to get, to comply with the zoning if we approve.
So, because it was put in place beforehand, that is a decision that you can make tonight as part of the condition of approval. If you want to grant approval, you can condition that as part of the approval. And that's actually what I've stated in number 2 here.
Okay, thank you.
And here are the 2 motions that that are recommended or staff suggests if you would like to approve them.
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Rodney, normally we don't like giving up commercial property zones. How do we feel about this one?
Well, I look to you for that answer.
He always has the heart.
Let me just go back to the zoning in the area. It's difficult because this property, if you zoom in on the aerial, the access to the property is down 7th Avenue, right? This little tiny dirt road, the access is residential here, and this residential that's existing, right? That doesn't seem, if they continue using this property the way it is, there's no concerns about you losing that residential, or excuse me, that commercial designation. In addition, I would just point out that our comprehensive plan calls it as being residential, medium density residential.
Oh, that solves that then.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
And would that be the reason that staff recommend, sorry, the previous slide?
Yeah.
Would that be the reason staff recommends that that fence be modified to comply is because it already is in a residential area? It may go back to a residential zoning and therefore logic dictates that.
Exactly. And Madam Chair and Commissioners, I did, for that exact reason, that's why I put this condition in there as an option for you to consider. If this area develops as more residential, then, we're just increasing that demand for, our standard look of a single family home, or if they convert it to duplexes or even a 4-plex in that area. Do we want 6-inch or 6-foot fences surrounding these developments, these residential developments completely? That's just not a look that we've desired in our comprehensive plan or we've approved in the past. So that's why.
Is there any type of a time limit that they would need to modify that fence?
So a conditional use permit is extended for 6 months unless they get an extension.
So you meant like take the fence down.
I mean, yeah, so if it's approved, they got 6 months to modify the fence.
Or if they get an extension after that 6 months, they could have up to a year.
But that's it. So they have basically up to a year to modify the 6-foot fence that completely surrounds.
But again, that's staff's recommendation, and the commission has the ability to change that.
So you said conditional use permit. This is not a conditional use permit, though.
Oh, this is a rezoning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So the question stands, Rodney. So how much time would they have?
I'm still stuck on that last one, I guess.
If approved by city council for the rezone and the DA modification, how much time would they have to modify that fence?
Good question. Yes, I apologize for that. So you would just need to put in a time frame.
Okay, that's what I was saying.
Okay. All right, guys, what do you want to do?
Hey, Rodney, one quick question. So that time frame then could be basically based on before any future building or development changed. We could put that as a stipulation, right? I mean, if they just wanted to change the zoning and leave it as a house right now, and then they decide in 6 months that they want to apply for a building permit to put a duplex in there, then at that time they would have to change the fence. We could do something like that.
You could, yeah.
That would kind of defeat the purpose,
Yeah.
though, of it going back to residential. We want it to be, I mean, that's the whole purpose of going to residential. Therefore, are we still in public hearing? I can't
You
remember
are.
where we are.
We haven't opened it up for
We
Okay.
haven't done public
I'll
testimony
hold,
yet.
I'll hold then.
Okay. Do we have anybody, I don't have anybody on the sign up sheet.
and nobody's here but the applicant.
And us.
Motion to close public hearing.
Do you want to have the applicant come back up? Peggy?
We can close public hearing and then have them come back up, right?
No.
It needs to be a part of the public hearing.
Okay, then let's get the applicant back up there first.
It seems like there's a lot of discussion about the fence in front of the property. As soon as I purchase the property, that fence is coming down immediately. So as soon as I get funding on the home, it won't be an issue. And you can put that in your report or, so the fence is coming down.
Okay.
So.
Easy.
Okay,
Thank you.
That's that resolves that. Okay, now we'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved, Steve.
Who wants-
Second.
Who did the motion?
Steve.
Steve and Brett second.
Correct.
Okay, close public hearing. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle, Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. He's even got motions up on this big screen for you.
Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and make the recommendation to recommend a zoning map amendment from BC to RS6 for 904 7th Avenue North for James Hagan with all conditions of staff.
With the
I'll
recommendation.
second, Adam.
And the recommendation to remove the fence,
Yes, yeah.
even though he said he's going to.
Yep.
Okay, so motion by Brett, second by Adam. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, now we go back to public hearing number 4.
Madam Chair,
No,
We got another motion.
Oh,
no,
sorry. I'm getting loopy, I guess.
Madam Chair, to make a motion that we recommend a modification of the development agreement, ordinance number 3561, rescinding the conditions for a commercial building to match nearby architectural facades, building orientation, limiting impact of commercial lighting and fencing to the neighborhood, specifying commercial signage, landscaping, etc., for commercial building at 904 7th Avenue North for James Hagan.
Second.
Okay, motioned by Matt, seconded by Brett. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, now we're done with that one.
Thank you.
All right, public hearing number 4. Doug, we have some changes.
Short version.
Madam Chair, and Doug, did you want me to present first?
Yeah, Beth, go ahead.
Okay, Beth's going to be the applicant. Awesome.
All right. Commissioners, we have before you tonight the Historic Preservation Plan. This plan was initiated by our Arts and Historic Preservation Commission in the fall of 2019. It was funded through a grant from the State Historic Preservation Office and kind of went through an entire public process from about a year ago through the end of summer and had a lot of public input pre-COVID and then some kind of virtually through COVID's impact on us. but we identified kind of several priority areas for the community in regards to historic preservation, and then developed some action items for the commission to look at in terms of moving forward. So some of the identified areas that they want to kind of increase their focus on is looking at kind of other historic preservation priorities. Our focus has typically been around the downtown historic district, but as we get further into the 21st century, those assets that were built in the community just 50 years ago are becoming historic components. So we have some neighborhoods that kind of meet that definition today, and some that are kind of reaching that milestone in the near future. So part of this effort was to really map out the entire community based off of building permit data on when those projects were constructed, so that they can kind of have a good visual moving forward and keeping an eye on kind of where our historic assets are. And just because something is old doesn't necessarily mean it's significant. So also making sure that we're identifying what's significant and what isn't in terms of the architecture and the significance of the neighborhood in general. But kind of with this and looking at their overall goals is to really just kind of understand and document those historic buildings and sites, to preserve and protect and enhance our historic buildings, to strengthen the operations of the commission itself and how it collaborates with design review, planning and zoning, obviously planning and zoning commission and city council, and then certainly increasing public awareness and partnership opportunities. So it's a big part of their efforts as well. On August 3rd, the plan went before city council and was adopted as a historic preservation plan as a standalone document for the city. But we would like to formalize its incorporation into the comprehensive plan for the city as well, so that they can cross-reference each other. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Okay. It's either too late or it was well said. So I think we're good.
Let's see now. Let me see if I can bring this up. Can everybody see that?
Nope.
You can't see it. Okay.
We're just saving all our questions for Doug.
Oh, yeah, thank you. To the left. There we go. Okay. I'm sorry.
There we are.
There we go. Okay, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Doug Critchfield. So the requested action item tonight is a comprehensive plan text amendment of Chapter 11, Section 11.8 to incorporate the adopted Nampa Historic Preservation Plan 2020 into the 2040 Comprehensive Plan by reference, and includes a new description of the plan for the city of Nampa. In order to talk about this a little bit, Beth did a good job at summarizing this, so I won't take too much time. I thought it would be important for you to know what's in the plan and how that affects what it is that we do. So we did include in the staff report a link to the preservation plan for your review, and there's quite a bit of detail in that plan. And so Beth already covered a little bit of the history of how we got to this point. Just a note that this was adopted by the City Council in August of this year. So and this is the public outreach process. Again, I won't spend too much time on this. Just to note that we did have public meetings. There was a review and comment by the public, as well as the agencies and the Historic Preservation Committee. And then all of that went into the documentation for this project. This is just a outline of what the plan looks like. These are the chapter headings and what's inside the plan. It really is a fairly comprehensive view of the history of Nampa, and then it talks a lot about the regulatory agencies that are at the federal and state level, the regulations for historic preservation as well as administration of the plan. And it zeroes down to some specific recommendations for the city of Nampa vis-a-vis goals, objectives, and strategies, which align with the comprehensive plan. So adopting this into the comprehensive plan will align the two plans into a cohesive strategy. So the goals for the plan were to understand and document their historic buildings and sites, to preserve, protect, and enhance historic buildings and sites, and to strengthen the operation and administration of the Historic Preservation Committee, and to increase public awareness and partnership opportunities. The fundamental preservation objectives were to continue to develop context and conduct surveys, identify sites, and then one of the goals is to develop a local register, a historic register of buildings. And it's also to preserve and protect the assets that we have. And that's through economic development, enhancing the Main Street program, and identifying financial incentive programs. And then these are operational objectives. I won't spend too much time on these, but it does strengthen the collaboration with our partners, ensure that there are sufficient resources, and creates opportunities for collaboration as well. So these are the strategies that, again, if you recall, the comprehensive plan also has a strategy table that's associated with each of the chapter and each of the chapters. And so these are divided into 4 different time frames. Immediately, the first year or so is to strengthen the preservation plan through reviews, and to really create a foundation for future work in historic preservation, and to build up our training opportunities. That's a very important part of this. The short term, I highlighted these two because I think these are important. So in the 1 to 3 year term, it's the opportunity to meet with landmark property owners and to urge preservation, and to prepare a demolition review ordinance. These two are bodies of work that are going to require quite a bit of time, some staff time to do that, but they're really very important in determining what we have in terms of assets for our future historic preservation. In the midterm, the 4 to 7 year time frame, one of the important goals that we have or strategies is to explore potential for a local register of historic places. And along with that, in the plan, you'll note at the very end of the plan, there's a map that's identified the year at which buildings within the community were built, or a time frame in which they were built. So this additional work will help us start to build a register of historic places, and we'll add design review authority to the Historic Preservation Committee. So those are really 2 important strategies. In terms of correspondence on this, we had no comments from the public agencies or the general public about this. That was largely taken care of when the plan was adopted by the City Council in August. In terms of the findings, as stated in your staff report, it's important on number 2, as the 2040 comprehensive plan is a forward planning document. It becomes necessary to update it with new information and details that becomes available. That's stated in code. And because the plan was adopted on August 3rd, there's new language that's required in the comprehensive plan to bring that up to date. So that's the purpose of this request this evening. This is a long slide, but most of this is language. This is in your staff report. So the highlighted areas is what we want to focus on. So the commission, it's suggested that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the Nampa City Council the incorporation of the Nampa Historic Preservation Plan 2020 into the 2040 City of Nampa Comprehensive Plan by reference. And secondly, update the 2040 Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 11, Section H8 with new language, and that's the new. This is what follows is the new language. We won't have you state all of that as part of the resolution. So,
Thank you.
with that, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'll take any questions. I'll go back to the initial resolution here.
Anyone have any questions?
That's not going to have any immediate action on, let's say somebody wants to build, because we don't have none of.
Or tear down and build.
Yeah, or change something. Is that going to have an immediate action on somebody who might come into a area and want to change a building, or?
Yeah, so this really sets the foundation work for that. As we go along and start developing codes and policies, those will come before this body.
Doug, this is Commissioner Garner. How does it said that it gives design review authority to the Historical Preservation Committee? Is that what it said?
Yeah, Madam Chair and Commissioner Gardner. So the plan is to, in the future, as one of the strategies, is to give more design review authority to the Historic Preservation Commission, but that would have to be done with a set of parameters that, again, would have to be vetted before this body and before the City Council.
And is that just the idea that the Historic Preservation Commission would have maybe more knowledge base to review historic buildings? That's
yes.
the idea behind it?
I think that's one of the goals. The other, I think, is to have a little bit more of an understanding of the what it is that we're trying to preserve. What are some of the qualities that we're trying to preserve? And so those, again, I think would be fairly, there would be a clear set of parameters that authority would be based on.
And how would it be initiated? Would it just be that the building was on the list, the proposed list of historic buildings?
So Beth, if you're there, could I ask Beth to answer that question?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So right now, today, we actually have the Arts and Historic Preservation Commission part of the design review process for the historic district in downtown. So they do review significant change, anything that would have to go before the regular design review committee. The first step would be that it's reviewed by the Historic Preservation Committee. And this group is a body that is made up of professional architects, engineers, historians. So it's professionals that work within a historic preservation content. And then we also do provide significant training for them over the course of the year in historic preservation practices. So they are well trained in kind of doing that review. And theirs is just a recommendation to the full design review committee. So they don't have any final authority by any means, but it's a process by which you can get that expertise on the historic attributes of the building and then goes to the design review. So I think that the interest and intent would be that if we have a local register of significant structures, and again, it's not just that it's an old building, but that it has significance. So if we have that local register, then there's potential that that language could be expanded just beyond just the historic district to include any buildings that are in that local register piece.
And Beth, you anticipate that the Historic Preservation Commission would be called in to advise when a building of significance that's on that list comes up before them? Is that how that works?
Right. That would be kind of the long-term plan. So again, it would take, ordinance language to codify that process.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, guys, what do you want to do?
We have to do the public hearing?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess we do. Is there anybody there for public hearing?
No.
And there's nobody signed up on my sheet. So I would entertain.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second, Steve.
Okay, Matt made the motion, Steve seconded. All those in favor of closing public hearing? Steve?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Now, what do you guys want to do? Don't all talk at once.
My throat hurts from talking too much.
So how do we need to word this? We need multiple different items, or is it all one, or?
So it would be the action item that's on the screen.
So it's a recommendation to council for approval.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we recommend recommend for approval of comprehensive plan text amendment of Chapter 11, Section 11.8 to incorporate the adopted Nampa Historic Preservation Plan 2020 into the 2040 comprehensive plan by reference, and includes a new description of the plan for City of Nampa.
Second.
Okay, motion by Brett, second by Matt. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, that is going on to council.
Rodney, wake up, Daniel.
I'm awake.
Wait.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, thank you, everyone.